Hello, everybody. This is Bart Sharp, and you are on Becoming Quantum Conscious at United Public Radio Network and UFO Paranormal Radio Network on 107.7 and 103.5, broadcasting out of the beautiful city of New Orleans, Louisiana. And we also are on Roku, YouTube, Facebook, and the UPRN Talk Radio website. That would be uprntalkradio.com. My name is Bart Sharp, and I'm very ethereal today. As you can see, the light from a beautiful Texas sunny day in December is shining on my face. You can't really make this stuff up. It's just coming in. And quite opposite, I'm guessing, from my guest today, Elizabeth Diamond Rose, who's from the UK. So I'm going to bring Elizabeth in, and we're going to start the show because I don't have anything else to say. So off we go. Hi, Elizabeth.
Hello, Bart. Thank you for having me today.
Oh, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. In my few minutes of talking with Elizabeth, we have vibrancy here. Kind of a fearless fun, I would say. You know, if somebody takes in, it's been doing this for 23 years of life coaching and working with people. You have to do it for a lot of alternative reasons. And probably the biggest one is service and helping mankind, which is exactly, what this title of today's show is about. The evolution of humankind is the revolution for the earth. Maybe that's how I titled it, something like that. But I think you kind of get it. We all are in this together. And I wanted to begin the show by just reading Elizabeth's bio. Elizabeth Diamond Rose is an internationally renowned transformational coach working successfully with clients in 30 countries around the globe. She started her well-being and personal development quest on the other side of the process as a client who needed much support and input from others further along in the life development path. Don't we all, I'd have to say. To this day, Elizabeth expresses deep gratitude and respect for those who have helped her actualize her gifts and talents. Personal development became Elizabeth's passion, and so started an enduring mastership journey as client, seeker, and practitioner. Elizabeth made it in her business to qualify and certify in every modality that gave her her own life the biggest breakthroughs. Her expertise is proven in the success of her clients, many of whom go on to live vastly improved and successful lives. She now delights in working with many of the children and extended networks of her clients as the ripple effects keep on spreading. As well as busy client work, Elizabeth is currently writing a series of books and online courses around different branches of personal development. She is launching a range of creative source materials that help others to enhance their inclusive gifts. And that's a lot how consciousness works. It's kind of like a tree with, hundreds of thousands of roots going out in different directions. And when you get on this consciousness path, it goes everywhere. And, if there's anything that my impression of you is you are going everywhere. So thanks for being on the show today, Elizabeth.
Oh, it's a pleasure. It's a real pleasure. It's a joy to be here. And I can really feel, I've been feeling it all day because it's just 10 past 8 in the evening in the UK. And all day long, I've been feeling the ripples going through your community, your collective, this show, your series of shows. It's really lovely. Thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. And, when you start to, there comes a point where either you just kind of go, well, this is my thing. I do energy work, I do counseling, and it starts to feel like a job. And then there's other people that go, oh, this is my vehicle that I'm going to go anywhere and everywhere and cover the whole thing. And that's what I kind of get from you is it is a big thing of working with individual people, because that is the personal evolution creates the word earth revolution. Or no, the personal revolution creates the earth's evolution. You can just kind of replace all of those words any way you want to do it. As we changes, the earth changes. And you just are so dedicated to that. So what does that mean to you in your own words?
Yes, thank you. I don't see anything as separate or unrelated. And when I started my own spiritual quest and journey, I was amazed, scared, and fascinated by just the interconnectedness that I saw. That's kind of a talent of mine. I just would always see that go to that, the patterns and the networking and the matrixing, really. And I just couldn't put it down. The more I knew, the more I wanted to know, but it's quite simple, really.
It's beautiful. Before you, I know you have more to say, but we want to say hello to Lee Vanzi. Welcome to Elizabeth Diamond Rose and Transmotive Travel. That's it. 1, 2, 3. I like that. Transformative Travel. 1, 2, 3. Ooh, love that name. So Lee and Transformative Travel, welcome to the show. Yeah, it's that funny ride. So, tell us how it's changed your life jumping into this pool.
Immeasurably. When I started, I came from less than nowhere is how I would describe it. I had a secure family materially, and there was one member that I knew where I was loved, but we were a dysfunctional family. And I was picking up psychically the thoughts and feelings of the people around me before I was 2. So that's okay if they're in a happy mode, but if they're kind of not, and there was a lot of not, then it felt like a very scary place to be. So what I learned to do was to be quiet and to observe and to keep out the way as much as possible. It wasn't always possible, and a lot of events happened. And then fast forward 20 years, and I went out into the world totally unprepared, very psychic, very open, but also really closed and walled up. And I didn't have a model or a clue or anything. So I wandered about in the wilderness for a long time, and then finally discovered, my first teacher, who is a lifesaver, and she opened me up to the universe, the possibilities, to my gifts and talents and destiny. And so my transformation began. But it was really starting from a negative to anywhere that I might be today. Yeah.
It's always amazing to me that people that had the courage and the enthusiasm, which is a big, important word, to change, generally start their lives challenged by their family dynamics. And a lot of times they feel it, and and it's quite overwhelming at various levels.
Yes.
Or we don't feel it, and we create all of these behaviors that are expressions of what we don't feel, but we actually are feeling it. It's just too overwhelming to be aware of it. And so we have dysfunctional behaviors, and we jump into things like addiction or behaviors that kind of channel that. We might be a great athlete or something, but we're doing it out of pain and anger and such. And so, you're helping people kind of address that. I mean, what is that in somebody's life that is so not working?
We all have a journey to go through. I know it sounds like a cliche, but it's not. It's universal. And everyone has a mission or missions, and everyone has a purpose to uncover and discover and to activate. So I think the scale and the intensity can be different according to your soul's ambition. Some souls are much more driven to pack a whole load into just a single lifetime, and that's when you get a huge amount of transformational opportunity. But what's that a euphemism for is, on the other side of that coin is a lot of thresholds and gateways of pain that you have to traverse. And so I really see that the journey from shadow to light is contracted to all of us. And we go back and forth from shadow to light, light to shadow, shadow to light. And actually, it's really in a figure of eight, as I see it. And, sometimes we retrieve something, other times we release and relinquish something. And so it goes on.
Yeah, and it's so well explained, and it really brings up that process that you may have starting the awareness of the pain or the awareness of your dysfunction or where you're not working right. For me, I was just I was tired of being embarrassing myself with just dysfunctional behaviors that I knew were from my family's origins. It was the role I was playing. And somewhere along the line, I started getting tools that I had confidence in. And, and they were starting to change me. And I wondered, do you have any reflection about your own life or what you see in other people's lives about some of those effective tools that start that world of confidence that you can change?
I think there's two forums for it. The first one that we're encouraged to do is to go out into the material world and action and succeed and pursue and produce, basically. And I think that the more that we do that, and then we get, the trappings, and we live the life that is the cookie cutter, and we're told that we'll be happy with it. And, personally, I did all of that. I was expected to be married, mothered by the age of 18, 21. And I that was a complete no for me. So then it was, okay, well, you're going to go out to work. And that was a much better option, because working is far easier than being a married young mother, right? And I had no desire for children. It's not in my fate and destiny this lifetime. I've done it before. So out I went into the world, and I was told, you get to all of these, stations of achievement, and you do what everybody else does, and you'll be happy. And so there I am at 32, 33, having achieved all the goals that I set for myself on my own with no support, frankly. And I wasn't happy, and I wasn't fulfilled, and I thought there was something wrong with me. It's later on that I realized that system, it doesn't bring out, the fate and destiny in you. It, in fact, anything, it suppresses it and tries to kill it off.
Well, I think of it as the ego trying to kick your ass, basically. To
I
bring
don't
in
think it's wasted.
so much of your pain comes in there, and it's. I said this word once before. It's embarrassing to yourself, and you go, I got to change. I'm
Yeah, I
tired of
mean,
this
you
stuff.
know, we're all living and learning, and we've all been different. The way I see it, but we're doing different versions of ourselves at different times. And the
Hmm.
idea is to not get stuck into
Yes,
any of those versions, right?
yes,
Because there's another version waiting to supplant it and be discovered. And, you know, then it takes your skill set and your character, your identity, your personality to another level and another level and another utilization. So when we actually understand, because it starts with understanding that we're individuals,
hmm,
right? We're individuals with it. Although we end up being part of togetherness and we're all one, we don't start there because we can't. We have to go through the motions of understanding who we are, what we are, how we're shaped, whether we like that or not, what can stay, what has to go, and what that can do for us in the world
hmm.
and in the world that we create, our personal world, our higher world.
Yeah. But you say the higher world. You had a really interesting note that you sent me. He said it's not top down. We have to begin from the bottom up and start releasing the density if we wish to rise to the highest realms.
Absolutely.
And can you share a little bit this? As I'm sure this is very related to all of what you do in serving people. I totally
Yes,
agree with that concept.
I'm pleased to hear that. So often, you know, in the old paradigm, let me go back a step. In the old paradigm, everything was a climb. We were just going up the ladder. We were just climbing up the ranks. We were just, you know, raising the stakes on the car, the house, the job, whatever, right? Old paradigm, climb. You either stay or you climb. That's it. New paradigm is a lot more nuanced than that. But the universal laws that create our world and our universe are the same. So, as above, so below, yes.
Yes.
But if it's just as above and you don't create the space for it in the below, the as above can't come in. So, put that another way, if all you're doing is chasing your high and chasing your upper resonances and hanging out with everything up there, and let's face it, who doesn't like to do that? It's wonderful, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But if you're not bringing that down and home, there is no way, as far as I can see and have experienced and have been shown, that you can get to the higher levels of living in the higher dimensional frequencies because you haven't cleared the space. There's no crater, there's no clearing of what I call sacred space for your roots and the upper frequencies to come in and then basically spread through your being, spread through your life, ripple out to you. So there is the shadow that will always be there. And we can't take that away, and we don't want to take that away. But what we do need to do in my humble service is clear it of the debris and the blocks and the fears and the unknowns and the baggage. And beyond that, go and dive into it, because so often I have seen the most talented part of you is waiting right there in your shadow, dormant, waiting just for that precise moment when cometh the hour, cometh the man, right, as the saying goes. And when the path is clear, because you've cleared the layers of debris and entanglement and God knows what else, right? Goddess knows what else. Then its rise, like the phoenix, is unencumbered. And then it comes to the surface, it has its moment and saves the day.
Yes.
If it keeps hitting everything along the way, guess what? Not today and not tomorrow.
And that
So
would be and that would be unawareness of who you are when you hit those debris, because you're not, because they will always sabotage you to hit things,
absolutely,
stopping you on your rise.
totally.
Just adding that in.
And also, thank you. And also, right, doing the shadow work ahead of time. So often people leave it until they're in a crisis. That's hard. That's a really hard way of excavating and preparing the sacredness of your being to receive that which you can evolve and ascend to. If you are doing it ongoing when there is no crisis, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're applying to that as part of the joy of discovering yourself, who you are in your original identity before all that trauma or wounding or fear occur, or even anger, whatever it is, confusion. Who are you without that?
Indeed. And there's a big word, a 5-letter word that everybody has to deal with. And it's critical in this journey to exactly what you are. And those 5 letters are ANGER, anger. How do we deal with anger?
We have to go below it and understand it, because below anger is always fear. And anger is just a survival mechanism. It's just a defense, and it's an understandable one, because if you are in abject fear, you're fighting for your life, right? And anger is a form of power. It's not necessarily a form of power that we want to live in, but it sure got us out of a few scrapes once in a while. So in and of itself, especially if it's healthy or it saves us, anger has a place in our life, but we don't need to make it a constant companion, do we, Bart?
We certainly don't. John Bradshaw has a great definition of anger. It's the energy to take action. And sadly, right, if we do not resolve our angry days and our angry situations, particularly in our childhood, we're using anger from a past tense and not a present tense, and we're functioning from that unresolved place, and most likely unconsciously. And therefore, we reenact things, and we will reenact things until we understand them.
Yes, that's patterns on repeat, right?
Right. And when we talk about the theme for today with this, the human revolution creates the Earth's evolution, anger is one of the key ingredients. We just see anger mess things up, used brutally, used in revenge, used unconsciously, putting it on somebody that doesn't deserve it, and then us living in the scars of us getting anger that we didn't deserve. And it's a huge matrix.
It's a huge revolving door, because if you see people who live with a lot of anger, they're not happy. They're not happy, and they're quite miserable, actually. They might feel forceful and powerful at times. And look, we all employ anger until we don't. I'm no saint here. I've been angry lots of times. And, I always say that a person's force can go, a person's power, a person's capability to transmit, right? The energy that comes through their vessel can go either way. So if they're a powerful being, And again, it goes back to what we were saying before, the sense of scale and intensity that the soul has weaved you and created you in. Then, you know, your power, your voltage, if you put that in something positive, loving, helpful, the ramifications are huge, but equally. And I just think that honestly, when we look at all of the diamonds in the rough, in the shadow, we're not necessarily going to go, oh, great, we found anger, or we found fear, or we found jealousy, or we found whatever. Yes. But this is my experience, personal and professional. The other side of that emotion and that energy is always there, just waiting for you to connect with it. And the other thing is that when you make them a team, and of course that's best done with a guide, in my opinion, but when you do that, here's what happens. Something new is created. And that, to witness that and to experience that, is an amazing thing.
It is. I always think about when I see another limitation that I hadn't seen in my life that I've been living, and I'm aware of it.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, both of us have a big toolbox, and we're teaching people how to have better toolboxes to deal with these things. Then the word opportunity shows up. Like I can turn another limitation around, and when I do, the power of that limitation gets to be out into the open.
Yes.
And you said it before with this is that, you know, everything we want as a shadow has a purpose.
Huge.
Huge purpose.
It's a huge gift to do shadow work.
It can be a part of that soul contract. And you mentioned that before in notes sent to me. And why don't we start with that topic? But before we do, we want to tell everybody that you are listening to Elizabeth Diamond Rose. And you are on United Public Radio Network and UFO Paranormal Radio Network at 107.7 and 103.5 out in New Orleans, Louisiana. My name is Bart Sharp, and this is Becoming Quantum Conscious. And Elizabeth, what is your website's name? I keep slipping my name.
That's okay. It's diamond-coaching.co.uk.
Okay.
Diamond-coaching.co.uk.
I'm glad you repeated it. And diamond-coaching.co.uk.
Co.uk.
Okay, great.
You can also find me on Instagram and TikTok at this time under Elizabeth Diamond Rose.
Okay, great. And I think we have a nice comment here. This is from Lee Vanzi. The whole world is currently living in anger. Fueled by fear makes complete sense on a collective consciousness and on an anger scale we've never seen before. We all have our own shadows.
That's
and yes,
right.
we do. I like, let's see.
That's quite some comment, right?
Yes.
Thank you, Lee.
David, it is. Thank you, Lee. David Hawkins, Power versus Force author, would say about the shadow. It's like you keep seeing your shadows, and it comes to a point in consciousness where you are no longer afraid of them. When your shadow behaviors start to show up, or that shadow voice that you've heard all your life and suddenly you've dealt with it, and then it comes back, you're going, oh, it's you. You know, there's no reaction to it. There's no dread or no fear of it. Like, oh, there it is again. Oh,
Yes.
damn. I thought I dealt with you. No, all of that's gone. And it's really
Yes.
a good lesson for all of us to take a tip from Buddha. Learn detachment from your emotions. And that begins with your own reaction. You know, nobody can really instill that in you. It's your own choice. And so we,
I'd like to pick up on that point, if I may, just
yes, please
add,
do.
so often when we first start going into, our deeper consciousness, we don't always have to call it the shadow, because some people don't like that. So when we're exploring our depths and our inner being, our inner world, there are so many ways that we can do that. And the more we traverse it, the more we dive into it, actually, it's my experience and the experience of several of my clients, that it becomes its own reward. So that at first, there may be fear of what we're going to see, whether it's going to infect us and take us over and take us right back to somewhere that we've put distance between, or miles or whatever. And we may have divorced this one and left that one, and and we vow never to talk about the other thing, and all of this, right? But none of that resolves the issue, and none of that helps, because I'll say it once, if I'll say it a million times, time does not heal. Healing heals. Time
Ooh.
does not heal. That's why you can get a hangover from a past life 10,000 years ago, 25,000 years ago. And then here it is, right here in your now. Time does not heal, only healing heals. So when we go in, and at first we're a little bit trepidatious about it, that's natural. That's why you're going with a guide, right? But then after a while, you're like, okay, what happens next? Because you've retrieved parts that are healed in the process. They're not, brought to the surface and stay wounded. No. You've transformed them. They are changed. And then they go on to give you, we go back to confidence, they go on to give you confidence and a sense of capability and capability and power. And we just get better as we do it. So I learned pretty quickly that this pride kind of thing, throw that away, because it's just wasting time, and it stops me from getting in really deep and bringing back the diamonds and the gold. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. And that pride is a tough one. And
It's one of the worst.
yeah, and I think a lot of people have a pride in their limitations and how much they suffered and their hardships, and they always go back to those reference points. And it's kind of like a weight, like concrete tennis shoes or something. If you want to fly, you might want to drop those shoes, and you'll fly much easier. It takes a
Yeah.
lot less effort, and that's part of the magic. Is when you clear this stuff and you start to live in these realms, it's easier.
Suffering is hard work, and it's very tiring, right? It takes a lot of
Oh yeah,
effort. Takes a lot of effort. And look, again, we all do it until we don't, because sometimes we have to suffer a lot before we make the decision to come away from victimhood, or we come away from a wound that we think. And this is my story, right? I'll hold my hand up a million times to this, that sometimes I've gone into experiences and events that have given me so much pain. I actually thought that they were going to kill me off from an emotional and psychological perspective, not a physical death, but an emotional and energetic and psychological death that could actually have taken my physical life. Such is the depth of feeling sometimes. And but again, living is a choice. And I learned this when my beloved father died. You know, he was closer to me than my breath. And when my father made his journey home, you know, and he had a good passing. We made sure my dad had a really good passing. I don't mean it was happy. I don't mean it was comfortable, but I mean spiritually, energetically, and on a soul level, that man was douled, right? And he had a fine passing, but the grief and the loss, honestly, I thought would kill me. And it was a couple of months later, I was I was lost, absolutely lost. And it was the 20th of December, 2020, and there was a Sagittarius solar eclipse. And I went into meditation to connect with the eclipse energy, as you do. And basically, that was the moment when I was very much shown and taught, well, sweetheart, this is your choice. Are you going to live or are you going to die? And just look up. And I looked up, and it was quite a way away, and there was a diamond in the most beautiful rose, a big bloom. And I thought to myself, I've never seen anything so beautiful in all my life. And I went up and I connected with that rose. And that's when I went from being Elizabeth Rose to Elizabeth Diamond Rose, right? Ooh. So it was a frequency, you know, raise. Yeah. But it was a choice. And that is the point, that we choose where we live. And so often we think we don't. So often we think that we are powerless in the face of adversity and suffering, and things happen to us. We are never powerless. We have a choice. But you have to do a few escapades and a few heroes' journey for that to sink in, right?
We do. And so much about that is letting your past stories behind, letting your past stories of pain behind. Of course, you need to explore them to the degree that you have to understand why you did them and what the lesson was. Sure. Once that's learned, you move on and you start to live with diamonds in the sky, so to speak. Mm-hmm. I wanted to say hello to Ellen and Gary from Transformative Travel. I have friends of them. They run the show here a few weeks ago, and I was just delighted to hear from you guys. And got another comment. It's a great comment here. Here it is. It is Elizabeth Diamond Road is a shadow guide. Suffering is hard work. It doesn't have to be that way. So true. And to switch the focus a little bit with Elizabeth Diamond Rose. Mm-hmm. And Elizabeth, what's your website again?
diamond-coaching.co.uk. diamond-coaching.co.uk.
I'm going to say it next time. I like to say this again and repeat it, and it's embarrassing to me to not know it and not have it written down someplace.
It's really no biggie.
You know, yeah. Anyway, I love to do excellence. You know, you wrote this down. You know, the consciousness game is ever going. You know, and then when I first started it, you were thinking, oh, I'll just do this for a year and I'll feel better. And then I'll drop it back and I'm going to go back to normal. I'll go back to my normal life and I'll quit looking at this painful stuff. You know, I've heard this before. And of course, after a while you go, oh, this is never ending. Mm-hmm. And it's like, oh, it's not about wiping out the stuff. You wipe out enough stuff and then you move on to expanse, invention, creation, and then a higher calling, which is higher love, and then service. And when it gets to service, it's amazing because you start to get to selflessness. But you wrote down these notes that I just love about all the different aspects of what consciousness or the path to higher consciousness is, which creates personal evolution and Earth's revolution.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe it's personal revolution and Earth's evolution. I love that. I love that gracious mistake. So these are the aspects that we all kind of go through if you want to soar to the top. And that would be your present life of all the different aspects that happen to you now, past lives that do influence you. Then there's also the family and all of that, but also the ancestry. And there's a lot of ancestry work going on and family work. Then there is your physical body, and then there's your emotional body. And then there's the mental aspects of it, of knowing the stories and knowing all of those details. And then there's the energetic aspects that take you into knowing yourself on a body-brain level. And then you start to get into spiritual, which is beyond, into the unseen world. But that also takes you to something much more universal, where you might be playing with the stars and communing with greater things.
Mm-hmm.
And as you said before, if you want to fly to those levels, you really got to do all of them.
You should. So here's the thing. If we've got this life to actually discover and uncover who we are, even though we're in physical form, and who we've been in our soul's journey in this earth environment, then we have to answer all of the questions. Who am I in my physicality? Who am I in my emotionality, my mentality, my energetic, my materiality? Who am I in all of these places? Because, somebody can be a demon in the boardroom and can be a puppy at home, right? I mean, it's a bit of an extreme, but you get the point I'm making. We will have different versions of ourselves in different aspects of life. And from the work that I've done, both personally and professionally, it is a mapping of who we are in the different variations and the different aspects of life that actually gives us the information to be whole. The more whole we are, the more powerful we are, but we come from a powerful wholeness, which I have never seen wholeness be anything other than light and love driven. And the more whole we become without the taint or the baggage or the clutter or whatever, stopping us from our wholeness, right? The more original we become, the more we are evolving, and that contributes to the New Earth Revolution. So, yes, some areas we're driven to. You might have a pain in your foot that relates to a Roman life, or you might have a bereavement that really teaches you about, everyone must go home and there is life after death. Whatever the doorway, go through it, understand the territory, clear it, make it sacred, come back and go, okay, which doorway now? And make it a fascination. Because if you're saying, oh, when is it never ending? When is it ending? When do we get there? My belief is that if we're in human form, we've got a ways to go. If this world isn't in paradise as it was originally created, we've got a ways to go. And every single one of us has a soul contract, whether we know it or not, whether we activate it or not. We have a soul's contract to do our part, to restoring paradise on earth as it was created for us, right? And
Yeah.
everybody gets to play with their free will. We're not maligning everybody here, but what I'm saying is, if part of you is voicing, when will it end? We have to really understand what's going on there. It is not the part that A should be in control and management and driving the car of your evolution, because that is a wounded part. And the wounded parts stay in our sub and unconscious personality, and they live in Groundhog Day. So say, for example, I'm 2 years of age or just before, and my brother gets born, and I'm reading my mother's mind or hearing her words, and she's going, oh, this is good. Now the sun is here. And I'm thinking, well, I'm not a son. So what happens to me now? How will I survive? Because all she's thinking about is, I've got a son. Now my husband won't leave me. Right? So if I stay in that wound, then all I will ever think of myself is, I'm rejected, I'm abandoned, I'm vulnerable, I'm unsafe, no, I'm not good enough. If that part of me is managing and in control of my life and my evolution, I'm going nowhere fast. If the healed parts of me come in, attend to that, parent that part, and end its suffering, and also take the control stick of life away from it, put it in a paradise garden or wherever it wants to go, right? And then the healed parts of you step forward and drive the life. Then there is no, when will it end? It's all too much. Haven't I done enough? It's actually not. It's just, okay, we have to do this now. And this is good because I like being whole. I like being loving. I like being happy. And I love to feel powerful in a positive way.
And a word that I'd like to add into that is I love creating whatever dreams seem to show up for me.
Totally.
Because dreams pop up in the biggest and smallest ways. Or if you're like the person who has the wound that they're continually going back to, and they're leaning into that, generally they are going to have a paired behavior or substance they're going to be taken to numb that out. We call it addictions.
Yep.
And they just live in that field with that. And this is the choice you can make, is to stay in those behaviors. And they can also be things like worrying or, mental things. Or you can start to step across that. And so you have a lot of tools to really help people with that. So could you just talk? We got 7 minutes left, and I want to have time to say, give us a couple of minutes about what tools you think are good that you teach people, and then tell us what you're doing out there in the world. You got 4 minutes. Can you cover it?
I'll do my best. There is an unlimited amount of tools because there's an unlimited amount of creativity for our healing and our growth and our ascension, right? And sometimes it's visualization. Sometimes it's sitting with a crystal. Sometimes it's riding on a dragon. Sometimes it's doing shadow work. A lot of the time it's inner child healing. Sometimes it's connecting with your higher self. Sometimes it's finding realms and angels to come and love you when no human has. There's a whole plethora of tools. Astrology is another favorite of mine. And I've done it all and continue to, because you know what? I can't get enough of this stuff. So whatever needs to come, once you get, as a practitioner, once you get into the point of allowing the flow to come through you, knowing that You won't know everything. You'll know something, but you won't know everything. But you know a realm or a creator that does, right? Then what I used to call in the beginning of my career, the just-in-time delivery comes through every single time. And that's really good for the client to know that when you work with someone, and I have been so blessed to work with the most amazing way showers and groundbreakers, right? And that's just a given. And being in proximity to these people brings you to your own greatness step by step. It just doesn't happen in one fell swoop. Even though people say they're ready and they want it, they're not. We have to do it bit by bit. So part of my work is to definitely clear the wounds and restore the balance of power in the healed and wholesome self, and then to help a client rehabilitate their expectations, limitations, beliefs, so that healing is operated and tested and expressed to bring back return and outcomes. And then they go, oh my God, this stuff works. You must see my best friend. You must see my mother. You must see my husband. Can you do my dog? All
Yeah,
of this.
it is like, my God, this is fun to live this way. My God, it breaks through. So tell us about some of your projects you have up.
So I have 2 books and a card deck that I'm really hoping to get published, and that would be amazing. I want to work with some wonderful astrologers because I do a lot of healing around the birth chart, the natal chart, and I love that interplay. So I call myself an astrologist, not an astrologer, because I have a gist of astrology that I weave into my work, and it's a funny play on words. And to basically say to everybody at every age, we can do this, and let's do this together, right? So yes, the card decks need a home, the books need a home. There's so many more. I've got 23 years of legacy to deliver, right? And obviously courses and sacred tours and all of that stuff. I mean,
It's such
the world's such a varied place, and I love variety.
I love it to have so many things that you're creating, grand and glorious creators. Whoa. All I can say is it's super sexy and super consciousness, super moving, and changes the world all the time. You're having a great life. And this is what I'd really want everybody to get is as you evolve, it's not this painful thing that, oh my God, I got to climb the mountain like Moses with these tablets and meet God. And it's going to be hard and he's going to slap me with lightning. No, it's not like that. It is pleasurable. It is fun. Your body vibrates differently and you create and attract stuff that's always surprising you.
Yes.
All of this stuff. And you can get into more of Elizabeth Diamond Rose's stuff at her website. I'm going to get it right. diamond-coaching.co.uk. Did I get that right?
Perfect.
diamond-coaching.co.uk. It's been great having you on the show.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Also, you are on Becoming Quantum Conscious, and my name is Bart Sharp, and this is United Public Radio Network and UFO Paranormal Radio Network at 107.7 and 103.5 out of New Orleans. And we just want to say hi to Mort, and thank you, Lee, and thank you, Indigo Stars. And transformational
and Ellen and Gary, thank you so much.
Garris, thank you so much, and thank you so much, Elizabeth. Great time being with you. Next week we will have a fun on Magic of Music with Carl Finch. And until then, we will see everybody later. Bye bye.
Thank you so much. All the blessings.